Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sports on the Positive Tip. We have conversations at the intersection of sports and faith. I'm here with Kenny Squared. And Kenny, I have just one thing for our opening here. This is our opening segment. Mason Miller's streak stopped at 34, I think, and a third or two-thirds inning. I mean, that's amazing for a reliever, and that stretched all the way to August. The innings didn't include the World Baseball Classic, but he didn't give up any runs in that. It didn't include any innings from spring training. He didn't give up any innings in spring training either. So it's an amazing streak, and already it's very, very early, but already there's some talk about Cy Young for Mason Miller. Very early. I mean, we're not into May yet, but the question I have for you, who was the last reliever to win the Cy Young Award?
Was it Eric Gagne?
Eric Gagne, good job. You remember the year?
2003 or four? I want to say four.
2003. Good job. Yeah,
Ah,
2003. And you know, I had to look this up because spectacularly, he had 55 straight saves that year. So, I mean, that was just an unbelievable year and a 1.20 ERA. It was sort of like our guy Clase, even though he had such a great year, he didn't win the Cy Young. Now, there's only been nine relievers that have won the Cy Young, and it's a lot of time in between. So now it's 23 years. The last one to win before Gagne was Dennis Eckersley in 1992. So any shot, and why is that relievers, and there's been some relievers that have had some great years. Why do you think they haven't really come close to winning Cy Young? Is it because they have the Roll Age Relief Man Award? I don't know if they still call it that, but I'm just wondering why you don't look at a relief pitcher anymore.
yeah, I think that's part of it. It's the Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman award, depending on the league.
Gotcha.
Um, but I think that's part of it. Also, like I think when you look at especially when you're looking more new school, the amount of innings pitched, I think, makes a big difference for people. And like even Mason Miller, he can have a dominant year, a .50 ERA, but he's still only going to throw probably about 60 innings versus, say, Shohei Ohtani if he gets up to 180 or something.
Yeah. Um, I think it has to now these days be just a spectacular year, but I think it's all kind of always been like that. Like any of these relievers that won, I mean, you look back with his Raleigh Fingers or Willie Hernandez years ago, Eckersley, then Gagne. I mean, it's just spectacular year. K-Rod didn't win that year. Bobby Thigpen also, I think, held the record for the most saves. He didn't win either. So I think it just has to be an off the charts year. But Mason Miller's kind of having that type of year, you know. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Lots to get into. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think it's just also great year and not another great option.
Right, right. That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. All right, lots to get into. We're gonna get into the NBA playoffs, our Knicks, what's happening there with the Cavs, the West. I thought the Rockets would go night night last night, but they didn't. But we've got two teams, the Blazers and Suns, that have. We'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about tanking and the new tanking rules that look like they're going to go into effect. I don't know, the NCAA 76 teams. I'm a little lukewarm on that. I'm curious to see how you are. We'll briefly talk about the NFL draft, and then we'll get into your baseball rankings. You get ready to get this going?
Let's get into it.
This episode of Sports on the Positive Tip is brought to you by the Tavern Coffee House. Attention, coffee lovers! Are you craving the perfect cup of coffee to start your day? Well, look no further than the Tavern Coffee House. It's located at 12302 Buckeye Road in Cleveland, Ohio. You can also check them out and order your coffee at thetaverncoffee.com. Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny and
Any squared.
with the Sports on the Positive Tip podcast. And Kenny, so much going on. It's a great time of year. The Knicks have given us a little bit of a scare here, but I think that they've righted the ship. Let's start there with the NBA playoffs. Let's talk about the Knicks first, the Knicks and Hawks series. I made this point to you, and I think that these last two games, the rest of the NBA is watching and saying, "Uh-oh, this team can not only get to the finals, but can possibly win a championship." When they play the way they played, and we saw it in spurts this year, right? But when they play the way they played these last two games, it's going to be hard to beat them. And here's the thing, I want to hear your take on this. We see the Hawks, an up and coming team, good coach, trades their star, but they put a good team on the court, right? They get Kaminga, they get McCallum at the trade deadline, but it's kind of a mishmash, right? And you could tell they weren't ready for the big moment, which was game four for them, right? If they had, risen up and won game four, that would have been big. But, they're still kind of learning each other here in the playoffs because they'd only been together since late February, right? Whereas the Knicks really didn't make any moves all year. I mean, they cut Abaselli, or they traded him, I think, to the Bulls. But other than that, their roster has kind of been the same all year long. And you've had McBride and a few of the guys out for a period of time with injuries. But I think that is really playing to the Knicks' advantage right now because, I mean, especially the other night where they knew where each other was at on the court all the time. All those alley oops to Mitch Robinson, Towns, they knew when he was going to take the threes. There's just a cohesion there that I think a lot of other teams, including the Celtics, and we're seeing this with the Pistons even, may not have. And so, curious to hear your thoughts on where, the Knicks and Hawks stand. And if you're looking for them to just close it out tonight,
I'm not gonna, I did say Knicks in six to start. So
you did.
I'm
Yep.
gonna say yes that they could close it out tonight. I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this is that they showed games two and three more of an aberration as opposed to a serious problem. Because I came on here last week saying, I don't know, I'm looking at the way that they're closing out these games defensively, and it scares me.
Yeah.
But they've really showed you don't really need to close out the games if you beat them by 35.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think there's a few things that I really take away from it. Um, First of all, both these games. Well, let me rewind. This is not Knicks related, but general NBA related. I hate the way that they do the broadcast. It's
Yeah.
so weird. Um, I think we said it last week, but with Mike Breen and like saying it really stinks that like the local broadcast can't call at least the first round. I've heard Michael Kay kind of allude to that too. Like to me, it does kind of stink because like all these guys that have called this team all 82 games, and then you get to the playoffs and you can't even have like an iconic moment with your announcer. Every once in a while, you get one in the first round. I think with when DiVincenzo had that buzzer beater, that was a good Mike Breen call. Like you have a couple of those.
Yeah.
But to me, what I don't like is the flipping between all these different networks because I never know which network the game is on,
Yeah.
and I think also you lose kind of like the cohesion with the broadcast. Where like I think in baseball when you have let's say Joe Davis and John Smoltz, although they're not my favorites, but whatever. If they're calling a Yankee division series and then championship series, and then the Yankees get to the World Series, they followed that team. So they get a little bit of insight, especially like for someone that hasn't been following the team. You can see, oh yeah, that person like Aaron Judge has really been struggling with sliders down low. Something that like if Reggie Miller's being popped into a game four and hasn't seen, like it just to me, having that cohesion helps. But we
Yeah.
can't fix that. I wish that
Yeah.
the NBA would just do the way baseball does. The West gets
Well,
one network and then you
let me
skip it
just
tonight.
make this comment real quick, and then I want to hear what you have to say about the Knicks. Um, I think NBC probably is they've heard kind of what you said because but then again it was on back on to your point, it was back on Prime last night. But that Pistons Magic series, they've got the play-by-play guy who's very good. I think his name is Mike Brady, and he's a play-by-play guy for the Hornets. But in that series, though, when NBC is covering it, I want to say his name is Bobby Hummel, maybe, but he does commentary for the Magic, and our guy Austin Rivers does commentary for the Pistons. So they're all in the booth together, and they can, kind of talk a little bit more about their teams. So I think what you're saying is very, very valid. And I think NBC realizes that with that one, but that's just that one series. Mike Green really hasn't been on the Nick broadcast too much yet because they've been on NBC and Prime, and and he's obviously ESPN. Now, if the Knicks make it to, I don't remember who's covering which conference finals, but obviously if they make it to the finals, definitely it's Mike Green on the call. But it's a very valid point. I'm not sure, and they do need to streamline, which I mean, I don't know how they fix that though, because they have three networks, right? And literally though, ESPN could be ESPN2 or ABC also, and NBC could be NBC or Peacock. And Prime, the thing I like about them though, if they have like two or three games going at the same time, you could switch up between them. They're all you could just click off one and go right to the other one. So anyway, it's a valid issue. Hopefully the NBA listens and they figure it out. What would be the harm in having the local broadcast? I don't understand what would be the harm in that, you know?
Yeah, and also like, and I get that there's three, but I feel like there could be a better system than just like
Yeah,
everyone does want, because like for a minute baseball was doing like TBS slash MLB Network. We did a couple games, and then the other was just Fox,
right,
like Fox FS1
right.
or whatever. But
Yeah.
as far as the Knicks, CJ McCollum, when he became a villain, um, he scored 23 points in game three, 32 in game two. Both obviously they win. In the last two games combined, he scored 23 points. Um, so I think part of the stopping CJ McCollum has helped, but I don't even think it's just that. I think overall their defensive intensity has been a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I think they really, unlike I think in game two where they really kind of I feel like they took their foot off the gas a little bit. I
Yeah.
feel like these last two games they really upped the intensity. Like we can't take these guys lightly. We can beat them easily, but we can't take them lightly.
Yeah.
And I like that because I'm looking at game six here. Hopefully they can wrap it up. And then you're looking forward to whoever you face in the next round, assuming the Celtics, since they're up 3-2. Um, you keep that momentum going where you have that intensity, especially against arguably the best team in the East. The team that scares me the most, I guess, is probably the best one. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I like where they are now. Obviously, Brunson's been good. I think one of the bigger things too is they've really been getting Cat in there a lot more. And I like this is something I think should the Knicks make a long run. I think if we're looking at Eastern Conference Finals, they're using their bench a lot more obviously than last year under Thibodeau. And I think you kind of are starting to see a little bit of the fruits of that because like Deuce McBride had a few shining moments here and there. Um, Alvarado to me,
Oh,
his MLB comp is Jose Caballero. He's a pest, and I love it. So
he's been great. Yeah. Yeah. He's been great. That's definitely working to their advantage. They've got a deep bench, and he's continued to use pretty much the same rotation that he used during the regular season. Except Landry Shamet didn't play much the last couple of games, but overall, Jordan Clarkson is a veteran. Nothing's going to phase him at this point. He wanted to come to the Knicks, get back into the playoffs, so he's doing great. I hope that the Knicks do just win Game 6 so they can, rest up a little bit and get ready for the next round. Now, you mentioned Celtics 76ers. Let's go there. Um, because when Joel Embiid plays, that is a different team, man. And you saw that the other night. Let me rephrase that though. When he plays and he's healthy, because there's times where he's gotten out there and he's playing and you could tell he's not healthy. But the other night was the old Joel Embiid. And here's the thing, Ken, Celtics don't have anybody to guard him. Just like I don't think the Celtics will have anybody to guard Carl Anthony Towns, if it gets there. But I do think the Sixers may take that, to 7 games because Game 6 is back in Philly, and where the Sixers out? You know what I mean? I thought that the Sixers would have trouble with Maxey and Edgecombe. Pierce is going to be Pierce. He's been okay, but if you add Embiid to that mix, now you really got something going. So I think that that game, that series may go the full 7 games. I could see the Sixers winning that. I'm not sure if they're tonight or not. I think they are, but I could see the Sixers, winning that. What are some of your quick thoughts on Sixers Celtics?
Yeah, they play tonight too.
Yeah,
I really hope that that one goes seven and the Knicks can wrap
yeah,
it up. Therefore, you get a
yeah,
little bit more rest. I do think it's not going to be an easy walk in the park. I think that I think that like everyone's been good on the Celtics, but I agree. No one can guard Embiid, and if Embiid's healthy and he's doing what he's supposed to do,
yeah.
it's going to be a really hard out for them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's stay in the East. We'll get to the Cavs in a second, but this, the one that I've been into probably the most has been the Magic Pistons one, because that's been such an up and down series. And the Magic could have won that game last night, were not for a couple of really bad errors at the end of the game. And, sometimes you expect that of a young team, but that team has come together, but the Pistons have to win 3 in a row to win that series. And last night they had to get, oh man, was it 48, 49 points from Cade Cunningham? Because they dominated the Knicks so much, I really didn't realize how lacking the Pistons have in terms of other scorers and how much they miss Malik Monk, from last year. I mean, they're great defensively. But outside of Cunningham, they have trouble scoring, and I think that's been really interesting. And this would be a huge upset, a number 8 against a number 1. But if you match the talent up of the Magic, they're not that far off. It's a bad matchup for the Pistons. So how do you see that series? I've been really, really intrigued by that series.
I think it's one of those we deserve that one to be a 7 game series
Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And I do agree. I think that regardless of who wins, I think it'll be a very interesting matchup for whoever wins between the Cavs and the Raptors. But I agree. I think they really missed that second option. And if you're looking towards next year, which obviously like they could get it together, they can still win. Um, but I think if you're looking ahead, you gotta get another scorer in there.
Yeah.
Because yeah, and I think also because you said from the Knicks perspective, oh yeah, they always killed us. I think part of that is because Cade Cunningham is usually being guarded by Jalen Brunson,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
can just go off. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just going to be very interesting.
It will be. Um, let's go to the Cavs and Raptors, which has turned out to be an enormously competitive series. And the Cavs won 64 games last year. They won 52 this year. 52 is still great, right, in the NBA today. But they had a drop off, and I think most of that was because of their slow start. Um, but they're a different team. I should have looked up the stats because I had them yesterday, and I don't want to say them off the top of my head. James Harden just has a lot of turnovers in this series. Now he played well, especially down the stretch last night. He had a couple of huge shots, and but when you and I texted, you were exactly right, and I hadn't really noticed it. You said that the crowd is not into it. I mean, I was a little surprised. They got into it in the last 5 minutes because the game was close. Um, but that's 3-2 Cavs going back to Toronto. How do you see the rest of that series now?
It feels like another one that's kind of destined to go seven. Because what I could totally see happening is Donovan Mitchell has a slightly off night and James Harden disappears. Because I mean, we see it all the time. Um, I have some stats here. So averages 22. He's averaged 22 points in the series. He's averaged 6 turnovers.
Yeah,
6.
yeah,
Um, he has 44 games in his career where he has more turnovers than field goals made, and
44
that is
playoff
insane.
games. 44
Yeah,
playoff games. Yeah. I don't know what it is with him in the playoffs, man. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, because I Harden was never, I think I'm speaking for both of us. He was never either one of our favorite players, right? But I
Nah,
really admired when he went to the Nets and he really changed his game because what was he, second or third in the league in assists this year? You would have never thought that when he was with the Rockets. He never passed when he was with the Rockets, you know, he just shot. And I didn't like that about his game because I didn't think it was a winning formula, you know. But I think he's tried really hard to change his game. He's been on a lot of teams now too. But um, but I don't know what it is, why his game just changes in the playoffs. I don't it is just one of the oddities to me. But we've seen that with players in all sports over the years, you know, but his really sticks out. Is he hurting the Cavs right now, do you think, more than he's helping them?
I think it's kind of a wash because he's not the only problem. Their big men haven't played really well. Mitchell has been good in times, but I don't think he's been like overwhelming like he can be. I feel like the biggest thing is that we can go stretches throughout this series where talent wise, the Cavs should have the top two guys in Mitchell and Harden. Like, no offense to Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett or anybody else, but like they should have the top guys. But I feel like there's been stretches here where it just hasn't been the case.
Yeah.
Where Scotty Barnes has stepped up. RJ Barrett had some moments last night as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He missed a big shot though. I mean, and it wasn't even close. He missed a big shot down there. It's what in the last 2 minutes. And he was
yeah,
open. You know, it was a perfect pass that got him open. And he squared up. I thought he was going to throw a punch with James Harden. He squared up. And you know, the NBA's got a little lenient on this because I guess it was at the bench. Same thing happened with at the end of the game with the Wolves and Nuggets the other night. But I guess because it's at the Cavs bench, I'm like, oh my gosh, all of the Raptors are going to get suspended because they all came off the bench, you know? Um, but I think Silva said they all came off as peacemakers, and it was kind of because it was at the bench of the Cavs. But they've gotten a little soft on that. I wanted to say this real quick because I've tried to watch as much of that series as possible. And I'm noticing Emmanuel quickly doesn't play much. And it's because they have that guy Sheed, who is the exact type of player Emmanuel quickly is. But I hate to say this because I love Quickly. He's better. He's just a better player than Quickly. He's more sounder defensively. But I mean, he's about the same size. He has the same kind of helter-skelter type game that we loved when Quickly was here with the Knicks. But I don't know. It was funny how they drafted a guy who's just like Quickly, but I think he's better, unfortunately, for Quickly. All right, so we've got a couple of series you think going to go seven here in the East. The Knicks should knock out tonight. We've got OKC, San Antonio waiting in the wings. Sometimes those series are lost in one game. We'll see, and we'll see that or in a moment. And I thought the Blazers had all the momentum in the world. They were up 19. They were up halftime at 17. And I turned to something else. I turned back with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and San Antonio was up by 15. I was like, what the heck happened? I was like, series over there. Series over. And sure enough, it was. OKC sweeps the Suns. Suns and Blazers, I think, both have very good years. Um, Nuggets, Wolves, who the heck knows now without Anthony Edwards? Well, let me ask you, can the Nuggets come back and win that series?
yeah, I think they can because also DiVincenzo is out with
Oh, guy's
torn
got an
Achilles. So,
Achilles. Yeah, yeah.
um, also side note, I did just see Mike Freen will be calling the game tonight. So, all right,
Good.
we have
Excellent.
our hometown
Richard
announcer, but
Jefferson. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, he Richard Jefferson to me is very like him, Reggie Miller, and John Smoltz. I can't stand them because they have bias against my teams. Like, just call the game naturally, okay?
So, yeah, DiVincenzo, that's a big deal. So, can the Nuggets come back here?
Yeah, I think they've got it. Especially since they have by far the best player on the floor in Jokic. Uh, I I do feel bad though because it feels like the Timberwolves were just set up to pull off what would be considered an upset. I don't think anyone would be that shocked by it,
No. Yeah.
but
It-
but
It's
in terms of seeding, it'd be an upset.
Is Edwards out? I guess they play tonight, right? Is Edwards out, or have we heard that?
Let me check.
Because he took a pretty bad spill, right? It looked like it was a knee that he kind of messed up, but I mean, he's still pretty young. Sometimes these guys could bounce right back, from that. Because that if he's back, and I know he probably won't be 100%, but if he's back, that changes my mind a little bit in terms of getting back into this series. I mean, it's 3-2 now. Um, and I guess the game is in Minnesota tonight, right? Game six. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Injury report says that he is out,
he's
left
out.
knee
Okay.
bone bruise.
Okay, I thought so. I think the Nuggets have a chance at least to take that to a game seven now. Um, Last week I thought this was the most fascinating series at first, and then to me it wasn't. And now it's gotten fascinating again. I'm talking about Lakers Rockets now. Um, the Rockets have won these last two, and they seem to get under LeBron's skin last night, as he exchanged words with Sengun, towards the end of that game. And those two teams don't like each other, but Kevin Durant is still out. He's probably going to be out the rest of that series, even if it goes seven. But I guess that is back in Houston tonight. Do you see that going seven? Austin Reeves, Doncic is still out, but Austin Reeves was back the other night. Um, but I thought that the Lakers really, and I didn't see because those games started a little bit later, I didn't see as much as I saw the first few games. I tell you, I thought the Lakers were playing perfect basketball almost in terms of moving the ball around. LeBron wasn't shooting much, but boy, oh boy, he was finding the open man. They were moving the ball, they were running when they needed to. They really had the Rockets on their heels. And I still think that with Kevin Durant, the Rockets just have a better team, but I think they're pretty even without him. So do you think that series may go seven?
It might. Games tomorrow night. I It'll be very interesting because they were up 3-0,
Yeah,
and especially more so in the NBA, getting even to a game seven is pretty rare.
yeah,
But also, you're asking the Rockets to not only win four straight, but win a game seven in LA.
yeah.
Um, that's going to be hard. So,
Yeah, yeah. Without Kevin Durant, I think I would almost give them the edge with the Lakers without Doncic, and the Rockets with Durant. But I think so. Let me just ask you this last question, and I want you to break down tanking for us. Um, is this a extreme disappointing season now for the Rockets if they get knocked out in the first round?
yeah, um, I think it'll kind of more confirm something. And I'll also add this too. I had texted you about this. Now, if Kevin Durant never went to the Warriors, he's got the same legacy as James Harden. Excellent, talented player,
Yeah,
had very high expectations all the time, but can't really get it done in the playoffs. Now,
yeah,
he did win finals MVP twice, and I think because of that, he's shown that he can win on the biggest stage. But unless he has probably three legitimate Hall of Famers on his team, he can't win. Just throwing that out there. Um, but I think it already has been a very disappointing season. Um, because I guess even if you get to the next round and you get five gentlemen sweep from the Thunder, it's still going to seem like it's disappointing. You would have then felt like, I think if you're a Rockets fan, you're like, okay, yeah, we pulled off the comeback against the Lakers. We should have been on the other side of the bracket.
yeah,
I feel like that's probably what they're thinking.
yeah.
Um, I will say this though. I'm not. I'd still pick OKC. OKC was my preseason pick. I'm sticking with. However, the second round has kind of been a little bit of a trap for the defending champions. There hasn't been a defending champion since the Warriors back in like their heyday that has successfully gotten to the conference finals or better in their title defense.
That's so interesting. I remember you mentioned that on the show a few weeks ago. That is so interesting. And winner of Lakers Rockets gets OKC, yes?
Yeah,
Oof, boy. Okay. Well, I think the Rockets preseason conference finals for me, I was like, they got to get to the conference finals. So I think it'll be a bit of a disappointment, but when your best player, one of the best players of all time, is injured, And he had, I think, a great year. And the Rockets were a little up and down. The Rockets and Cavs seem to have had the same type of year, where they were a little up and down. But so I think it'll be a disappointment, but not as big a disappointment if the Lakers had beat them with Kevin Durant. Um, all right, it's been fun, man. These playoffs so far have been fun. They've been a lot of them have been blowouts, but some of the games have been close, have been really close. And so it'll be interesting to see what shakes out these next few days. Let me ask that same question real quick before I ask you to talk about tanking. Um, Disappointing if the Pistons winning over 60 games this year, if they go out in the first round? Very disappointing year or building for them?
I think they'll more look at it as building, because you're still getting like I know Cade scored 45 or whatever, but like Cade is still kind of coming off of injury. You don't, you're still kind of trying to take that next step. I think if they had lost to the Magic in five, it would have been disappointing, but um, I think overall they'll still probably be disappointed unless they make it at least to the Eastern Conference Finals or better.
Okay.
However, you just kind of
Yeah.
part of it, you're like, okay, it's kind of a
Yeah.
loss here. But then at the same time, same with like a lot of these East teams, you're like,
Yeah.
this might have been the window and we lost it. So
And that's why I've been asking you because it's amazing how fast windows can close in the NBA. And a team like the Rockets, who that's a great coach, a team like the Pistons, he's a great coach. The Cavs, he's a great coach. What do? You're not gonna, you shouldn't change the coach. And the teams I just named aren't really trigger happy, so to speak, right? In terms of firing coaches. Um, but man, oh man, you just start to think, where do they go from there? And then, you have these two superstars sitting out there in the offseason and Giannis and Ja. And, do they go all in for that? So it's going to be fascinating to see how this wraps up. All right, so you had sent me some stuff about tanking and what they have proposed. It's not a definite yet. Seems pretty interesting to me that a team can't have the first pick 2 years in a row or be in a lottery 2 years ago. Break that down for me. What the NBA is looking to accomplish.
yeah, so it's an interesting thing to look at. So I believe that they call it like the 3-2-1. The the seeds 4 through 10, I believe it is, will be getting the most lottery balls. They would get three, and then the top three would get two, and then 11 through 16, which would basically be like um, the teams that either lost in the play-in or just were outside of that. They will all would get one. And yeah, like you said, it's not official. They still have to vote on it, but it's kind of what they're leaning towards. Um, the other parameters with that would be you can't have a number one pick in consecutive years, and you can't have three top five picks like in a row. And then the last part of that would be, um, oh yeah, also protected picks. You can't protect picks 11 through 16.
Okay.
So, so it definitely is like flattening the lottery, but I don't think it really helps the problem because if let's say you're close to the playing game, who's to say you're not going to try to tank the last three games of the year so
Yeah.
that you end up with the higher odds? Or
Yeah.
let's say you're one of the garbage teams, one, two, or three. And you're like, oh, if we go on like a 4 game winning streak, maybe we can win. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't solve the problem, it shifts it. You'll still have player like teams tanking, you'll still have teams kind of not playing their best all the time.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. And I think that's where the issue lies. That's why to me it's like if you miss the playoffs, everyone gets the same. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter where you.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I was thinking about this as I was preparing for the show today. Um, I'm not so sure that this has at least been talked about every year. Was was this on full display more this year because there's so many good plays? And I hate to say this because for me, and I know for you it doesn't matter, but it matters for the NBA that every year there's less and less American stars that come through the draft, right? It's, Victor Wembanyama is from France, vice versa, or so on and so forth. And then you've had a couple of the guys from France that have been number one picks that aren't even playing, right? The Hawks have one guy. He didn't get off the bench, through this series. And the Wizards guy, you didn't even hear of him. But is that why this year it seemed like it was more, and then it was so obvious that then it was talked about more? So I guess what I'm saying is the NBA going through a lot here for something that just happens every once in a while, or is this an every year thing?
No, I think this is kind of a special year because also when Wembanyama was coming up, the
Yeah,
Spurs did not try it. Let's
right,
just be honest.
right.
Um, and I do think there are times where there are teams that kind of go towards that. Take the Knicks when they
Oh,
drafted RJ Barrett.
yeah.
Like we talked about that with because that was the Fizdale year. And like he said, he was told to not play certain guys.
He's admitted
I
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I guess it kind of worked out because they got Barrett and eventually they traded Barrett for OG Anunoby, who's been excellent. But like um to some extent the taking does work. And I think teams will just get smart and instead of like stop trying in February, they'll stop trying in March. So
Yeah.
then they're not as bad later. But to your point, I do think that part of it is the particular draft class. Everyone's been saying for a long time that this is a very, very exciting class. And I think as a result of that, especially look at some of the teams that have been bad for a long time. Take Sacramento aside from a couple of years there.
Yeah. The
Take
Bulls. Yeah.
the Bulls,
Yeah.
like all of those, like the Hornets. Like
Wizards.
imagine if you could get the Wizards. Like the Wizards was obvious because like they traded for guys and then said, yeah, they're not playing. Like they're hurt. And then
Trey
some of
Young
these
and
guys,
Anthony Davis, who are two very good players when they play.
yeah. And like, and to a lot of these teams, with the Bucks, with Giannis, he's like, I'm healthy, play me. And basically they still said no. And like, I think when you start to lose some of that integrity with it and it becomes so obvious, you got to fix something. But I don't think this is a full solution. I think that they need to still look at it because, like you said, I don't think this is every year. Like next year, if the draft class is horrible, no one's going to care about tanking because
Yeah.
they're not going to see the need for it.
Yeah.
But like if it happens again, we'll just see another way of doing it. Like that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me say this last thing, Ken. You broke it down nicely. So let's so you and I do this show really as fans. I mean, we're fans. We're not insiders. I haven't never had a conversation with a player that we've talked about or whatever, right? We just kind of talk about what we see and what we feel. And um, so let's speak about tanking as a fan. And it's easy for you and I to speak about this from this perspective. It was special, and with your brother as well, and with your older sister as well. It was special, let's say, when you and I got to go to a Knick game. It was an event for us. We saved up for it. It's not like I had money lying around and we could spend a couple of $100s to go to the Knicks. There were times when you took Nick or someone else. I think he was the only one that you took. Or there were times we took Caleb with us, and Caleb's your younger brother. Um, and so there wasn't a game that I remember except when we saw Fizdale, which I don't know if that was you and I or maybe that was me and Caleb. And it's when I really noticed how he was taking guys out when they started hitting shots. Oh no, the guy's hot. Let's take him out. But I don't know that we ever went to see LeBron James but I'm just saying, Ken, we had, and we have this on our calendar for months, you and I didn't really get ticket. Oh, okay. Well, it was we went, remember it snowed and we went relatively early. We got there, there was hardly nobody in the stadium at first, and Samuel L. Jackson walked by us. We had decent seats, and it was the Knicks and the Pacers, and Reggie Miller was still playing. And it was later in the season. They could have easily sat him and their stars at the time. The Knicks could have sat their stars at the time, but They didn't. Everybody played and they played hard and everything like that, you know? And so, but I think about the opposite. If let's say we had gone and all of a sudden now the Pacers were another team that was definitely tanking. Imagine if they sat everybody down and we went to a game. If Halliburton, who we would have loved to have seen play, right? Now, different, he was hurt, right? So a little bit of a bad example. So all I'm saying is that the NBA has to watch themselves that they don't get too fat like the NFL. See, I get the feeling, Kenny, that the NFL could care less about what the fans think anymore. I think that they've gotten so big, and it's so saturated. I mean, do we really want to see, games on Christmas Day? We don't really watch the NBA much on Christmas Day. Do we really want to see, the day after Thanksgiving as well? And so I just think that the NBA though doesn't have that cachet just yet, but yet this whole tanking thing and listen, I'll give kudos to Adam Silver, not the owners or the coaches, because from a fan's point of view, tanking is horrible. Load management, you sit players down. It's horrible from a fan's point of view. The average NBA ticket, I don't know what the price is these days, but I bet you it's just as expensive in LA as it is in New York. Or I bet you if we were in Minnesota and we wanted to see a Timberwolves game, we would probably be paying a good, chunk of change out of our pocket. All the NBA arenas, the tickets are expensive, not to mention food, parking, transportation, whatever. You add it all in. And so you would expect, unless a player's hurt, you're going to see the good players. That's what you pay for. Especially you as a young kid, right? You're pumped up more than I am, right? And you should be. Now you're taking Isaac to see the Cavs. Well, heck, man, you want to see the Cavs' best players playing. And your son is old enough already that he knows, who are the Cavs' best players, and I want to see them. So I think that the NBA has to fix this. Otherwise, listen, if I was still taking a young son like you now, and that happened to me once, I'd probably still go because you'd ask me. But now I'm like, I'd be like, yeah, why am I going after, I went to see the Knicks, but they sat down Towns and Brunson. I didn't even see them play, and they weren't hurt. They're hurt. That's one thing. We totally understand it. Anyway, curious your final thoughts.
Yeah, no, I totally agree because I even think of those because I feel like basketball more than the other sports, people like to watch their players versus a certain team. So take a LeBron James as your favorite player.
Yeah.
And you're here in Cleveland and this is the only time he's coming in, but
Yeah.
he's not playing because of load management.
Yeah.
Or you have some weird affinity for LaMelo Ball, maybe because he's 6'7". I don't know. And it's the only time you're gonna get to see him. But then he doesn't come because they're like, oh well, we need a better draft pick. It's just not gonna go well.
That's
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
the last thing I'll say on it, the when I took Shelby to Cavs game, we first got married. It was it ended up being LeBron's last regular season game as a Cav. Game 82 was Cavs Knicks. Knicks won, which was great. Um, LeBron played so that he can get 10 points and then sat. He
Yeah.
played maybe 8 minutes. He
Yeah.
played possibly the first quarter and then that was it. And obviously I didn't go for LeBron James, but if you're going to that game thinking that he's gonna play the whole time and then you see him and you're like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
It kind of stinks.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's move over real quick to the NCAA. And so I'm old enough to remember when it was 32 teams, and I think they went to 48 before they went to 64. And 64, it's been 64 for a long time now. Um, I've thought that one of the most perfect things that happens in sports is the NCAA tournament. It never disappoints, right? I mean, I, I don't know how many times in our lifetime where we've said, "Oh, that NCAA tournament, it stunk," but it's almost the perfect amount of games. You know what you're going to get that first weekend. It's just nuts where you go down to 16 teams and then, and I have to say. I haven't been too interested in the play-in, like the first four. I don't know what they'll call it now, the first because I imagine those are those extra teams. They want to go to 76 teams. In fact, they're doing that, right? So that is an extra 12 teams, or am I counting a little bit too much? It's an extra 12 teams, right? Um, I don't know. I jotted down here, are we ruining perfection? Because the NCAA tournament seems as close to sports perfection for me as you're gonna get. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Because like their argument will be like, oh, well, we're helping the teams that are just on the brink, on the bubble, and getting in. But like, you're just gonna move the goalposts. Team 77 is still gonna be mad that they didn't get in. Like,
It's still gonna be, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so I that's the part I don't like because that's gonna be the argument.
Yeah.
I did see some rumblings about a name. I think maybe like the opening round because it's gonna be like obviously it's not gonna be a full everyone makes the first round, but it's going to be like a very more like you'll have more teams with a bye essentially
Yeah.
than like these teams are still trying to kind of technically fight in to get to the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of it either because also like I think what makes it good too is how compact it is. Like basically what 3 weekends and it's done. Like
Yeah.
you don't want March Madness to go
No.
into May.
No, that's the thing. It's the perfect timing. I mean, it's perfection to me. The NCAA tournament is perfection. The Final Four, the national title game. I mean, it's perfection, and why you would have more teams, I get it. It's going to be more money and everything like that. But, like I said, I haven't watched that first four much at all. But the fact that it's in Dayton, Ohio, right? And it's been there for, Dayton is pretty traditional when it comes to college basketball, and right in the middle of the country. Now you're going to have to probably find another place, Provo, Utah, maybe. You have to find another place because you can't play this many teams in one place. I don't know. But it was inevitable, right? Because tournament is so success every year, the ratings go up. It's so successful, but when it shakes out, it's usually one of the better teams or the four best teams are in the Final Four. It's rare you get, a George Washington or, Butler and some of these other teams that get all the way to the Final Four. So I don't know. It could be ruining perfection, but who am I? You know.
Yeah, you're not gonna get an 18 seed
No,
making even like the Sweet 16. Like it's just
no,
not gonna happen.
no. Now it's going to be 18 and one, right? The 18 seed against the one seed, Anyway, uh, real quick on NFL draft. I was surprised, Kenny. I thought both teams, the Jets and Giants, did well. We could break those down another day on the players, but I thought that both teams did well in the draft. I like the players that they take, even though a couple of them I didn't know well, but a couple I've seen, play, and I think they fill some pretty specific needs. But I was surprised. Last year, Shador Sanders was the big story, right? Rightly so, but he did get picked. This guy, Diego Pavia, didn't get picked at all. And it couldn't have been because of his performance. Because one might argue his college career was better than Shador's. But Vanderbilt did okay. They were 10 and 2 just outside, the college championship. But I remember at some point in the season, someone asked me who would I rather have, him or Mendoza, and I said him. I thought that he was a great quarterback. He led the nation in touchdowns and yardage and everything like that. But do you remember what happened the night when he didn't win the Heisman? Do you remember how he said this? I got robbed and I'm way better than this
Oh
guy.
yeah,
He
yeah.
came and apparently he ticked a lot of people off during the week because, they have, what is it, four guys that they bring, there. They break it down to three or four guys, but it's a full week. They go out, they have the interviews and everything like that. And apparently he had like a chip on his shoulder, bad attitude and everything like that. And that's why nobody drafted him because it couldn't have been performance. Like Shador, we were like, can't be performance. The guy could play in the NFL. Pavia definitely could play with the NFL. But the Ravens gave him a contract, so and I don't think he's going to play, unless Lamar Jackson gets hurt. I don't think he's going to play for a while, but maybe you could sit and watch him for a couple of years. What was your take on him not getting drafted at all?
Yeah, definitely a little surprising. I think it became less of a story because I think Shador was like such more of like a polarizing figure, which side note on that, well, not surprising, but the early indications are one Deshaun Watson is going to be the first crack at the Browns quarterback. Uh but we could talk about that once we get
Yeah,
closer to training camp.
yeah,
Um but it is interesting because especially the quarterback position, I think, but also others too. I think that so many people take character into effect. And I understand why, because like especially if you're talking quarterback, they're kind of like the CEO. Like I've heard Colin Cowherd say that a few times, like the CEO of your organization. They're your face.
true.
And like you want a guy, even if the guy is like a fiery competitive guy, you want a guy that you don't think will break down because especially you're going to put a lot of investment into him. You want him to be like the guy that you'll have for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
Especially if you're drafting him, especially like as a rookie and like you're hoping you're putting all the chips in. But it'll be very interesting to kind of see how his career progresses from here.
yeah. Let me say this real quick because this came to mind with Shadura and Pavia. Have they ever been in trouble with the law? They ever abused drugs? They ever been accused of any sort of misconduct, sexual misconduct, anything like that? Answer to all those is no. And but because they were afraid of kind of their competitive, fiery attitude, I don't know, man. I see why the NFL and the NFL does it more than any of the other sports. They really dig in to a person's character and background and everything like that. But I think sometimes with these two guys, at least, they looking in the wrong place. I think, you know, because both of them got chips on their shoulders. Don't you want that sometimes? I would
Yeah.
say I would say sometimes you want that. So anyway, applaud the Ravens for at least giving him a shot, as well as the Browns for giving Shador a shot. All right, we're gonna turn over to baseball. Let me pull up your. You did a great job this week as always. But as I'm pulling this up, well, I got to go back and open it. As I'm pulling this up, what's your take on the Mets? By the way, lost 2 out of 3 now to the Nationals. They're going on the road. They're now 10-21, I believe, is their record. Um, but the Red Sox let go Alex Cora, World Series winning manager, and the Phillies let go Rob Thompson. Got the Phillies to the World Series not that long ago, 4 years, right? Not even 4 years ago. I think it's too early, but they did it, and the Mets seem to be having a lot of patience with Mendoza. They don't think it's his fault. Um, your thoughts?
Um, and first, we're gonna start to get to the point where it's getting very late, and I know it's still only April, and I know that we could look at Memorial Day because like Memorial Day is kind of the first like checking the standings and they actually mean something
Yeah,
time. Um, and like I know they can go on a run and all that. And also they're 11 and a half games out of first place. The
well,
Braves have been excellent.
they have make it 12 games today, right? Because it's a half game.
Yeah.
They just lost.
So like it's going to start to get late early for them. And I think you just got to I hate to just say just fire the manager because as we'll see in a second, I don't know how much that's actually going to help. Like it could, the Mets could go on a run, but also you're going to get a very empty stadium very quickly. I saw that some of these Mets national games were selling for $6 tickets.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're investing a lot of money into this team and also hoping to grow that next year.
yeah,
Um, you won't get Met fans going out if you have a 70-win season when promised that you would be competing for the division.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's all
it'll be very
true.
interesting.
All true. And I don't know what you do with Mendoza except almost ride it out. I mean, they just put Luis Robert on the DL today, IL. Lindor's obviously going to be out for quite some time. Polanco, man, has disappeared. I don't know. I don't know how long he's going to be out. And Senga, who was awful, and maybe he was awful because he was injured. I don't know. But now he's going to be out for a while. I don't think you're going to see him for a long time. Back at least in the major leagues. Um, so the injuries mounted a little bit. And you can't blame Mendoza for any of that. I just think that we know he's a good manager, right? But we also knew that Rob Thompson, who waited a long time to get a shot, was your Yankee bench coach, right, for a long time, and he got a shot, so sort of like Mendoza waited a while. Um, and Cora, who goes through the whole thing in Houston, gets fired, right, because of that, but then they bring him back and he wins the championship and they bring him back. I mean, we know that he can manage, right? We know that he's good. And these teams decided, you know what? We're not waiting any longer because we're not going to let the season go. The Mets have taken the opposite approach. I can't say I disagree with that because I just don't know. I don't know who you bring in that would be that much better. Carlos Beltran? We don't know. Their bench coach is supposed to be highly rated. Kai Correa. Um, Cora said he doesn't want to do it. Do you go and bring Rob Thompson in? To me, the only guy, I've said this to you by text, I'll say it here, would be Joe Girardi. If you're gonna do this in the middle of the season, he'll take the call and he'll say, "What time do you want me there?" You know what I mean? You got to think he wants to manage again. That would be the only guy that I would consider right now at this time of the season. But I mean, I don't think it's gonna be a Willie Randolph and we fire him on the West Coast, at midnight. I don't think the Mets will do that. I do like the patience because he is a good manager. But what do you do though? I mean, so just ride it out until it's late for the Mets. It's late early, as well as for the Phillies right now. So, all right, take it away. I'll keep quiet.
Last thing I'll say on it,
Yeah,
I agree. I don't think they're at this point, if they haven't fired him yet, they're not going to.
yeah,
Um, I do wonder if we're going to see a few more firings because of the uncertainty of next year.
maybe.
Um, which part of me thinks as to why the other two did. But anyway, let's get into this. Black Monday candidates. I mean, we Black Monday is usually like the day after the NFL season ends and all of the coaches get fired. Um, Baseball's version of Black Monday exists, but people don't really talk about it. But like, I think these three teams are teams that have not met the expectations that they should have met at the beginning of the season. Obviously, the Mets are there. The the Astros are like a top five team offensively. Jordan is like a very early candidate for MVP. He
Been amazing.
leads he
Yeah,
leads in like everything. Um, but their pitching is awful. Imai has not been good. The rest of that rotation just really hasn't panned out.
yeah,
Kansas City is kind of, I think, the opposite. Their pitching's pretty good. Their offense is terrible.
yeah,
Um, and you're looking at both of those teams, and you're like, I don't know how long those managers are going to last there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so, and then obviously, like I said, I think if the something would have to go horribly wrong again for Mendoza to get fired. Like I'm talking like 8, 9, 10 game losing streak again,
oh,
which who knows? But
yeah,
um, fired in April. I mean, I already alluded to it. Like Boston, I laugh at the Red Sox here. It's as a Yankee fan, the last like year has been a lot of fun to watch the Red Sox just fully implode. You you bring in Bregman, which ticks off Devers, which causes you to trade Devers for basically nothing, and then say, okay, Bregman, you're kind of the future. And then you don't re-sign Bregman, and you're stuck with this coaching staff that he vouched for in order to keep him there. And then you just fire everyone.
yeah,
It's hilarious.
yeah,
Um, the Phillies, I think the Phillies needed to do something roster wise. They were kind of like the Yankees, where they were like, "We'll just run it back." So I think this is kind of their version of like, "Man, we need to shake something up to kind of get them going." Um, Don Mattingly is a fun manager. Um, him and his son, I believe, is the GM in Philly. So I believe it's a father son combo there, which is kind of fun.
Well,
Um,
Dombrowski is probably the president, right?
yeah,
I didn't realize that Matting. I knew Mattingly's son worked in the organization. I didn't realize that he was GM. Wow.
yeah. So that's kind of fun. But both of these teams are like, it's April. I don't think I remember two premier teams like this firing their manager this early on.
I,
Like,
I,
imagine we saw that in football where like
yeah,
the Browns fired their head coach in September. Like, that's
yeah.
crazy.
This has to be rare. I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, the one that stands out is when the Yankees. You're way too young to remember. Sometime in the 80s when George Steinbrenner fired Yogi Berra after 8 games. 8 games into the season, and Yogi Berra never forgave him. Well, he did at the end, but he stayed away from Yankee Stadium for years. Because he was embarrassed. I mean, you get fired after 8 games. But this is not that many more games. The Red Sox and Phillies. It's crazy.
Yeah. Also, the Yankees sweeping the Red Sox helps there too. But
Yeah. Yeah.
next year, what happened?
Yeah.
These teams were supposed to be better. Like the
Yeah.
Angels. The Angels are on a 6 game losing streak. They've lost 9 of their last 10. They're 12-20. They play the Mets next, so it's going to
Yeah.
be very interesting there.
Yeah.
Um, However, you got to shout out Jose Soriano, who still has a sub 1 ERA. Good for him.
And the Mets
Um,
miss him. They won't be facing him this weekend. So
there you go.
yeah.
This is one of those like this is a series we can kind of get back on track for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Minnesota as well. I liked when they were up there in first place. Now they are 13-18.
Yeah.
So it's sad. And then the Giants, I don't know what's happening there. They're in last place. They're not like they haven't lost it a little bit, but like what's going on there? And like you have good starting pitching, you have a
It's a
pretty
good
good
team.
lineup, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how long of a leash Vitello gets there.
Yeah.
Um, Overcoming a rough start. These 6 teams started out pretty rough, but now they're 500. They're kind of working their way up.
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks at 16-13, I think, have been a very quiet, pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Um, the Orioles have done a little bit better now. Um, as they've improved. They started out really bad. They're 15-15. The White Sox are 14-17, third place in their division.
Wow.
The other thing with them, Murakami is tied with Judge for the most home runs in the majors.
Wow.
Um, the weirdest signing we've seen because it felt like no one wanted to sign him, but he's at least hit, so we'll
Yeah.
give him that. And
Yeah.
then you got the Rockies, who also they're 14-18 and not in last place, technically tied, but we're not going to go there. So good for them. The Tigers too. I think there's going to be a lot more noise. The Tigers at 16-16, tied for top the AL Central, but we thought that they would be better than this. Um, Same with Seattle. Seattle is 16-16. We thought that they would be better than this. Maybe I should
Yeah.
have made a tier of we thought they'd be better than this, but
Yeah.
not there yet. I think these 6 teams, they've had stretches, they've had good signs, but I'm not ready to call them contenders yet. Cleveland's kind of there, 500. At times they've looked okay. Bazana, I forgot. Travis Bazana, the first ever Australian-born player,
Yeah.
or number 1 overall pick as an Australian, is he was called up a couple days ago, so good for him. Uh, the the Marlins there, I think they've had stretches where they're pretty good, but they're not that good just yet. Also Milwaukee technically is like in fourth place. If they were in the AL Central, they'd be in first place.
Hmm.
Kind of there. Texas, getting a good look at Texas. I think that they have a really good rotation. Jacob DeGrom, obviously, I think he's
Yeah.
fully back. Uh, Nate Eovaldi is really good. I don't know how good the hitting is.
Yeah.
Toronto has kind of turned a corner a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still only 14-16, so we'll see. Washington, I just kind of threw them in there. 15-17. They're not there yet, but they might be better.
Interesting fact, I'm sitting here in East Hampton, and East Hampton's own James Wood right now leads the National League in home runs with 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's
And he
probably
made
on
a
pace
great
for
catch today. You'll
50.
see it on the highlights. He made a great catch today. Um,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that highlight.
Yep.
Um, have to take us seriously. These five teams, I think, have shown enough that you have to at least like say, I think they're pretty good. Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Rays have the second best record in the American League.
Yeah. They
Um,
play well. Yeah.
kind of by far too. The Yankees are 20 and 11. The Rays are 18 and 12. And then the next team, the Oakland or the A's, are 16 and 14. Everyone else is 500 or worse.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, so I can't tell you why the Rays are good, which I feel like I can never tell you why the Rays are good, but they are. Um, you got the Cubs. The Cubs, I think, have been very solid. They've
Yeah.
been pretty consistent all year. I love seeing the A's in first place in the West. I think that's really good for them.
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really weird if they win that division. Because like if we're gonna really play this out, if the playoffs were to start today, we would be seeing a division series in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I,
That's
I don't
just
know what you
crazy
do
to
with
think
that.
about. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. I mean, no shade on Sacramento, but just that minor league stadium. Come on, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, I think you have to start taking Pittsburgh seriously.
Yep.
Even though they're 500, I think you have to say that they're taking a step forward.
Yep.
St. Louis is 18 and 13.
Yeah.
Aside from the AL East, they'd have a nice lead in any other division. So
Surprises
good for
me.
them.
Cardinals surprise me more than I think right now any other team.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, the Braves is a top five team. I think people don't really have
Yeah.
an argument there. I would say right now the Braves are the best team in baseball.
Uh,
Um, maybe slightly over the Dodgers, but the Dodgers also they've been doing Dodger things.
yeah.
I'll get back to the Yankees because there's a few things I want to talk about, but I think the Reds have been really good, especially
Yeah.
I saw Ellie De La Cruz is on pace to like have 55 home runs. Uh,
Wow.
I know it's still early, but still like
A great player. He really is.
he's such a dynamic player.
Yeah.
And
5
also the Padres. Like
Yep.
what do this is what we thought the Padres would be in 2024 and
Yeah. Yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
And now they're finally kind of doing it. And I don't know why. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess part of it too, when you have a lockdown closer like that, we say this a lot, it always helps because you know that game is that much shorter.
Yeah.
And when you know like you've got a lead heading into the ninth inning, game is over, I think it does something with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Um, few things on the Yankees that I really like. Obviously, the starting pitching gets all of the accolades that it should because it's been absolutely excellent. Um, the best or the worst starting pitcher right now that's like thrown multiple games has been Ryan Weathers. And I will
Hmm.
pull up his ERA because I have it here close. 3.21 ERA for Ryan Weathers.
Hmm.
And he's also gone into the eighth inning in two of his starts.
Hmm.
So it's been really fun to see this starting rotation.
Yeah.
Cam Schlittler, 1.51 ERA at a 4 and
No.
1 record.
Yeah.
Max Fried, 4 and 1, 2.09 ERA. Will Warren, 3 and 0 with a 2.59 ERA. And then Weathers at 1 and 2, 3.21. Two losses. Come on, Weathers.
Yeah.
But I and that's been great. And obviously, like they're still getting reinforcements with Coleman Rodon working on the rehab and coming back fairly shortly.
Yeah.
Um, so that's fun. But I think what I really like, aside from like the hitting, because the hitting's been good and then the bullpen's been okay. Um, the Yankees this year, I feel like, are more willing to make the tough move quicker. Um, obviously Marcus Stroman was a part of this team last year. Do you
Yeah.
know when they finally cut him?
It was late in the year, right? It was like in August.
August 1st.
Yeah. Okay.
And he should have been cut like probably sometime mid-May, like based on performance.
Mm-hmm.
They optioned Luis Heel, something they did not have to do, but he's been struggling. And they call up their top pitching prospect in Elmer Rodriguez, who pitched pretty well yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're not seeing DJ LeMahieu look really, really shot and awful at second base. We're not seeing Josh Donaldson striking out 5,000 times. We're not seeing Joey Gallo strike out 5,000 times. I
Mm.
feel like they're playing the best players that they can. Even like when Ryan McMahon struggled at the beginning of the year, Rosario came in a couple of spots against lefties, dominated, and they had him starting a little bit before McMahon kind of figured it out. So I think like what to me works really well is that this team knows that they can make the tough moves quickly,
Yeah.
and that'll help them moving forward. And the rotation, like Rodon probably starting a game 4 in the World Series, like that shows the depth. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's how the Dodgers won the World Series last year. Like I
Yeah.
know people will say, "Oh yeah, they bought everyone." But they had Glasnow, Snell, Yamamoto, and Otani. And all 4 of those guys were the backbone in that championship. So
No
I think
doubt.
if you're looking like big picture, the
Yeah.
Yankees have the blueprint in order to kind of compete with them. Hopefully they don't face them. They face someone that they can beat easier. But
No.
also, if the Yankees beat the Dodgers, it'll be a very weird role reverse because like it won't be the big bad Yankees taking down the Dodgers. It'll be the big bad Dodgers losing to the Yankees. So
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
This is true. Yeah, listen, I like everything the Yankees have done so far. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And I love, you know how much I love when teams do it with pitching and when they focus on pitching, because that is what's going to get you through the long season. That's what's going to get you through the postseason. That's what minimizes long losing streaks. You don't lose 10, 11, 12 games when you have really top flight starting pitching, especially. So I love what the Yankees are doing. You did a great job with that. Um, I mean, you called it in the our baseball preview with the Braves, and I think we were talking about the Padres and the moves that they had been making, some of the under the table moves, under the radar moves. So right now we're seeing some good things. I think some of these teams will come around though. I'm not sure what to say about the Mets. I certainly I'm watching every game. I still have hope, but it's gotten late early, so all right, you ready for some inspiration?
Let's get into it.
So I didn't watch. I have to admit I didn't watch most of the NFL draft. I especially the first round was where I got a little engaged. But there was so much on that night, if I remember. There was baseball, there was NBA. So I was in and out of draft. But I'll tell you, I'm really, really inspired at how many players praise God when they got first words that they said, as well as there was one player, and I should have written it down, and I didn't. Might have been the guy from the Cowboys that had a Christian song as his walk-up song, which I thought was great. But Caleb Downs, Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Jordan Tyson, they all said these things, right? Caleb Downs said, first of all, I want to say thank God, just thankful for my Savior Jesus Christ. Ty Simpson, which was a little bit of a controversial pick, right, by the Rams, Ty Simpson from Alabama. Um, he shared that he gives all the glory to Jesus Christ. Fernando Mendoza, who didn't come to the draft, he wanted to be there with his parents, and his mom doesn't get around that well. Um, he expressed that he was so blessed and thank God for his journey. Jordan Tyson that got drafted by the Saints stated that the Lord is doing a work in me. I loved hearing him say that. And then I don't know if you saw this video of Francois Maigoa. I think he was drafted by the Steelers, maybe, but while he's on the phone, and he wasn't a first round pick, his parents are standing behind him, praying over him. It was just spectacular to see because he's weeping as he's getting a call, and they are praying, for his journey. And that got showed. Ken, I didn't see these on CBN and have to search hard for them. They were right there on ESPN, and I'm loving the openness, of that now. Heck, we could be open with a lot of other things these days. It's great to see folks finally being open, expressing their faith. And so the NFL players that are coming in seem like high character dudes, a lot of them, but them really expressing and praising the Lord very freely and openly. That was my inspiration this week.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I do appreciate that because I do feel like people are a lot more open, and that's really good. Because especially like sometimes it feels like ESPN doesn't want people to be open about their faith, but
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
Um, my inspiration is, I guess the overall lesson is even your worst moments can be very fruitful. And from that, we can learn from one Young Ho Kyu. I don't know if you know that name.
Um, is he a shortstop? Used to be with the Padres? No.
No, he's former kicker for the Giants.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
no, he's more known for literally like the worst kick you'll ever see.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
if you don't know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
he um, he was attempting a kick and then completely missed the ball.
Yes.
And then the Giants were like, I don't know what we did. And that was the Giants season in 2025.
Yeah.
But
Not a good moment.
not a good moment, but it's very interesting because there was a particular guy in Kentucky watching. He laughed so hard at it, he was dying laughing. And then it actually turned serious, and he actually starts to go into a seizure
What?
as a result of this kick.
Oh, Allah.
So obviously something is wrong, and his wife, he was in bed while this is happening. His wife is like, "Oh, we got to get you to the hospital." They go and check it out, and he has a tennis ball sized tumor in his brain that they found out because of this.
Wow.
So he got the surgery, everything was taken out, and everything is benign. Um, but he credits Young Ho Koo missing that kick as to saving his life because if it kept
Wow.
growing, who knows what would happen. So
What a
um,
story. Wow.
to me, it's a good example of because I'm sure like if you look at blooper reels for the NFL, you're going to see that on there for at least the
Oh,
next
yeah.
decade, if not longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I can only imagine being the kicker and being like, man, I got to keep watching this nonsense for the rest of my life. But in the back of your head, you could say, yes, that happened, but at least through that, someone's life got saved. So,
Saved a life. Wow. Wow. I love that is amazing. That's an amazing story, man. I can't wait till we post this and for people to hear that. You just never know, how God works. And for him to like go from laughing to his wife saying something's wrong with you, let's get you in, and you've got this tumor. Wow. I can't say anything else. That is amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. Wow. All right. It almost seems minimal now, but we got a lot to talk about next week, right? Hopefully, we got the Knicks in the conference semifinals. We'll have all the matchups, I'm sure. Maybe the Mets will turn around here on this long trip that they have, this long road trip, and they need to be on the road. That's good. They were still getting booed a lot at home. Although the fans today came out, they had 34,000 there, and it was kind of rainy and cold here still, and on a day game they came out. So I don't think the fans have given up on them. Although those first couple of games with the Nats, you're right, it was rough. People were selling their tickets for hardly anything. Um, but we'll see. Hopefully, it'll be a turnaround. So, you ready to take us home,
yeah, let's do it. This is Kenny Squared N.
Kenny?
The Sports on the Positive Tip. We will see you guys next week.